So, hello everyone, and hi Eric. I am thrilled to be here with you this morning from the other side of the world. And let me first tell our viewers why I wanted to have this conversation with you. So, I know Eric from TLC. This is Transformational Leadership Council group, and we meet twice a year. Like-minded people, different people who look to make their other people's lives better. So the way it went is that I think it was 2 or 3 years back, I had a few of my TLC friends tell me that they're doing this way of eating and getting all excited about it. And I said, who's doing it? And they said, Eric. So I thought to myself, I didn't say anything. I thought, who is Eric to tell people how to eat or what to eat? So I ignored it. And then another year, there was another cycle where Eric offered his program to us in TLC. And I still had that attitude. It's like, who is he to tell us how to eat? But I did notice that the people who were doing his program not only lost a lot of weight, but kind of looked better. And then the third cycle for me, there were two people, especially one of them that I know well, that lost a tremendous amount of weight and looked really, really different. And then there was this announcement that Eric is going to be doing this program for us TLCers for the last time. So I joined. And it also fell when I travel quite a bit. And as I said in my mailer, when I travel, my eating habits get confused, and after a few times that I travel close to each other, the trips, it's kind of like I can't find my footing. It's kind of like I don't know what to do anymore. And I don't feel as well, and I gain a little weight, and anyway, the whole story. And I went to a nutritionist that pleaded with me also to stop eating sugar, and that was not an option. So I joined the program, and I had the best time with Eric. Those who know me know how important for me is that people are authentic, intelligent, and really think for themselves. And I found all those in Eric, plus his being such a lovely person. And when I told Eric that, forget it, I'm never going to stop eating sugar, so don't feel like you're a failure, he just kind of went gently around it. And I started doing the program, and it was remarkable because I never felt I was on a diet. It made sense to me what I was doing. And I think I'm now 8 months later, right? I didn't calculate exactly, but it's about 8 months. And it's just the way I eat. It's my preference. And I certainly don't feel deprived. And those who know me more closely know that I love to eat, and that hasn't changed. And I love flavors. And I was hoping to lose 7 pounds. I lost 14 pounds. I fluctuate on the roughly 2 pounds, depends if I eat a little bit more carbs or not, but that's really easy. And I really want everyone I know to know about Eric's work. I've been telling people, I've been sending people to his website, but I thought meeting Eric in person, listening to him, is really a wonderful gift and a privilege. And Eric, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself so people know, because you're actually doing extraordinary things beyond WildFit, but how about you tell us about WildFit and how we got to it?
Absolutely. And before I do that, I just want to say, really thank you very much for doing this. I never take it lightly, never take it lightly. Many of our clients have done this. They've had such, phenomenal results that they then wanted to introduce me to their various tribes around the world. And I always, it's always a big honor for me. So again, I just want to thank you for this. My background, it's funny. I'm, as you said, who's this Eric guy to talk about food? And by all appearances, I'm nobody. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner. My first company was wireless networking and data capture, and my next company was Hollywood Special Effects, where we worked on movies like Avatar and Pirates of the Caribbean right there in Northern California, as you may remember when I was living there. And And then we started another company that did medical simulation for the US Army, research and development for the intelligence services. I have had a very bizarre and sort of eclectic business background. But what a lot of people don't really know about me is that underneath all of that, ever since 1991, when I really put myself through a major health recovery, I've been, I've had one pervasive, powerful curiosity, from then, and I've been researching it ever since. And it really related to a very basic thing. And that was that I spent close to a decade sick, I'm not talking about a life-threatening sickness here. I'm just talking about discomfort. I'm talking about being overweight and not being able to breathe through my own sinuses and cystic acne and horrible stomach cramps and headaches and just, stuff. And I didn't even really regard it as being sick. I just regarded it as being Eric. Because, when you're sick long enough, you don't even really think of it as sick. You just think of it as, this is how my life is. And after visiting doctors for all these years, I finally had a doctor suggest that I needed to have some surgery, and I agreed to have the surgery. But then a few friends of mine, two of my friends in particular, sat me down and said, listen, you need to change some things about your food. And I'm like, why? I'm not particularly unhealthy. I mean, sure, I eat a little of this and a little of that, but I'm not, I'm not obese or anything. Why would you say this to me? But all they asked for was 30 days. So I was like, all right. And 30 days later, my life was so unbelievably transformed, like unbelievably. Like I lost 35 pounds or whatever, 15 kilograms in a month. My acne went away for the first time. I could breathe through my own sinuses. It was a miracle, like to me, a miracle. And then my doctor called up to confirm the surgery. And I'm like, I'm not coming in for the surgery. And this was really interesting to me. The doctor didn't ask why not. They just simply tried to talk me into it. I was like, I don't have the pain anymore. Well, yeah, but it'll come back, And I really felt like my doctor sounded a lot more like a used car salesman than a doctor, not the least bit curious about what I had done to turn my health around. And that's the day that WildFit was really born, not by name, but by research, 1991. Ever since then, I've been reading and researching. I've gone to I enrolled even in university to study archaeology because I wanted to get into human history and kind of figure out, look, every species on Earth has a diet. Elephants have a diet. Leafcutter ants have a diet. Maybe humans have a diet, and I discovered some really fascinating things, partly with going to live with Bushmen in Africa, like actually going to live with them and try to, take a look at the way they live, how much exercise they do, what do they eat, et cetera, et cetera. And I made some really powerful discoveries, but what really made the difference was that in amongst all that, I'd become really fascinated with doing business mentoring and business coaching, which meant that I'd really begun to figure out ways to unlock the way people think and the ways to help people make change. And when I combined those two things together, that's when we created something really magical. Because you see, most people, and not, most people, they go on a diet, they follow the rules for somewhere between minutes and months, and that's the extent of it. And that's because the single biggest failing we found is that even when people know the rules, they're going to break them. In other words, we had to help people change what they actually wanted. So when you said to me, and I remember very clearly, you were almost protesting, if it's fair for me to say, like, look, I'll do all the rest of this stuff, but I'm not going to stop eating sugar. And because you just, that's how it was. And as you said, I just gently said, look, let's take it one day at a time. And I think it's fair to say at this point that you are completely in control of sugar at this point, rather than sugar being in control of you. And us being able to do that for people all over the world has been why we grew 1,000% last year, exactly because of this sort of thing. So anyway, that's kind of the background. And that's why it is that a business guy happened to have created such a phenomenal health and nutrition program when it may not look like that on the surface.
So let me just ask you, I don't know if the other listeners, but when you talked about the part about changing people's thinking, you sort of froze and got a bit choppy. So can you just say, and I'm fascinated with the idea of thinking being actually like real, like moving your hand, you think, you move your thoughts, right? You create those thoughts. So can you say that again in case other people didn't hear what you said?
Absolutely. So my first business got to a point where I had something we now call business freedom, where your business runs so smoothly that you don't really have to be there. And so I signed up for something in the United Kingdom called the Prince's Trust, where I could become a business mentor. And I quickly realized that if you're mentoring people with information only, or inspiration only, or motivation only, then what that does is give them a few hours of feeling good. You know, it gives them a few hours where they will stick with the rules, but then very often they'll go to their old habits. And so what I had to do is really dig in deep to what drives human behavior, like why people do what they do and why they'll keep doing it, or what would have to happen for them to stop doing it, not out of willpower, but out of that they just don't want to anymore. And I did that really effectively in business. I mean, I mentored many, many people and got extremely good results. And I'm now well known around the world as a business speaker because people come to my talks and don't just get information, don't just get inspiration. They leave, they go home, and they do things differently because of the way I teach it. When we took that understanding and brought it into the food world, it was foundational. I mean, look, everybody in their marketing talks about how great everything is. I can tell you, I really truly believe that WildFit it's not even a weight loss program. It isn't. I mean, it's not built for weight loss, it's built for health. But the funny thing is that weight loss is a side effect of a balanced, healthy life if somebody's overweight, right? And I would say, even though it's not a weight loss program, we are probably the most effective program currently. And we're no kidding running with like a 85 to 95% success rate. That doesn't happen in diets. In fact, statistically, most people go on a diet and gain weight because the diets are rules-based. And often they're based on imbalance. In other words, count calories, starve yourself to lose weight, and then end up malnourished and starving so that pretty soon you have no self-control whatsoever and you're eating everything again. Whereas if we can combine really powerful, true nutritional information with behavioral change psychology, we get real results, which is what we've done. So I hope that explains it a little better.
Yeah. And what you said, if you give people rules, they will break it. So it has, is that what you said earlier? So it has to come what I'd call organically. It has to
and I think of it like this.
Within the person, and then it just becomes something you do. Would that be a way you would say that, or not? Yeah,
I think that's fair. If you think of it a little bit like the age-old idea of the food angel and the food devil, you know, you've got the angel and the devil. And the way I think of this is that people think they can use willpower to make a change. Willpower, everybody has willpower. If somebody's eating too much pizza or too much chocolate or too much ice cream, it's because their willpower is making them do it. Their devil has the willpower. What we have to do is get the angel and the devil on the same side, where when the devil goes, oh, look, a cinnamon bun, the angel goes, dude, we don't really eat cinnamon buns. And the devil goes, oh yeah, I forgot. And there's no argument. That's where we have to get.
You know, I love it. I love what you just said. And you know, my work is based on willpower. That is not going to work. And the way I say it, if he could, he would. If she could, she would. So we have to go somewhere else. We've got to create something that will give the outcome that has nothing to do with forcing or blaming or shaming or trying harder or all that stuff. Yeah. Great. So I thought, you know, one of the things that really completely really grasped my attention and made a lot of sense and was delightful for me to start following is when you taught us about the 6 hungers. Are you willing to tell the audience a little bit about the 6 hungers so they get some idea, at least the beginning of it?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, so having done quite a few of these webinars around the world, I'm absolutely happy to share about the 6 hungers. I'll share everything that we have time to share. I'm not going to hold anything back at all. Before we go to the 6 hungers, there's one thing. A lot of people ask immediately about food itself. You know, like what food should I eat? What food should I avoid? And so on. That's a longer, more detailed conversation, but I want to give a short version of the answer right now. Here's what we know, is that we know that humans, our ancestors and the pre-human ancestors that we have around the world, we know that our ancestors predominantly ate lots of plant-based foods like fruits and vegetables and root vegetables and so on, and also lots of, seeds and nuts and animal proteins like, meats and fishes and that kind of stuff. We know that those things have been in our diet for millennia, for multi-millennia, for millions of years. And all the other stuff that we've added more recently, not so appropriate to us. So some people may be familiar with like origin-based diets and paleo-based diets. There's a lot of truth in that construct. But what we're going to be focusing on more is not this obsession about I don't eat this and I'm not eating that and cut out these 7 dangerous foods. What we really want to do and what WildFit really focuses on is a very important truth of health. And that is that your health is more dependent upon you getting enough of the good things than it is removing the bad things. And the way I usually like to explain this to people is I want you to imagine, you know, Anat, you and I, we go find a guy and we put him on the perfect diet. He eats everything perfectly, everything. He has no junk of any kind. He never has processed foods, never has refined sugar. I mean, he's just diligent. He eats perfectly. He'll be healthy, right? But if we take the vitamin C out of all of his food, then he's going to get sick. Even though he never once had chocolate, he never once had a cake, he never once had a cinnamon bun, he never once had ice cream, he's still going to get sick. He's going to get sick because he didn't get what he needed. And so that's the first thing that we have to really get to people is that what we're really focused on in WildFit is obsessiveness about getting what we need, not obsessiveness about cutting all these things out. That said, we also want to take a look at the decisions that we make around why we choose to eat. And we have this one word, you know, English is funny. I think other languages are like this too, where you can use one word to define a whole family of things. Like we say people need fat, but then we also say fat is bad. And the weird thing is both statements are true, right? I mean, fat it comprises good and bad fat. We need the good fat. We don't need the bad fat. In fact, we should avoid some of the fats entirely, right? Well, we use the word hunger in a similar way. I am hungry. But when we really break hunger down and look at what the sub-motivations are inside hunger, we can learn a great deal about ourselves and our relationship with food. So we developed something at WildFit that's called the 6 hungers. And I have a little graphic here I think I can show you. So Anat, if you could just confirm for me that people are seeing the 6 hungers.
I'm seeing it, absolutely.
Okay, good deal. So the 6 hungers are the primary motivating factors behind eating. And I think it's fair to say that anytime you're eating, one or more of these forces is driving the eating decision. So if we start, for example, with thirst right here in the top right-hand corner, people are going, well, wait a minute now. Thirst isn't really a hunger. No, it really is. And what I mean by that is that you have to remember that for most of our history, people didn't have pottery. We didn't have things to carry water around in. In other words, when we found water, we would drink it, but we couldn't transport water with us. And so as a result, a huge amount of the water intake, a huge amount of the hydration that our ancestors were getting, we were getting it from plant sources. In other words, we were eating a large volume of water-rich foods. And that's how we stayed hydrated. Now, the challenge, of course, with that is that that's the way things were for millions of years. And so when somebody started to get a little bit dehydrated, the instinct at that point would be to eat because that's where we get our hydration from. So in other words, I'm feeling a little dehydrated. My body sends a signal that says, you better go eat something to get water because that's where we got so much of our water from. I go eat it, I get water, everything's good. Fast forward to this time, fast forward to the last 100 years, and now what happens is we feel a little dehydrated. The body still sends an outdated instinct, which is to eat. And then we go eat something. But the vast majority of what we eat these days, it's not water rich anymore. And so we actually perpetuate the cycle of dehydration by then going out and eating a bag of potato chips, when really what our body wanted us to do is to go out and eat something water rich, like a fruit or vegetable. So this is a really powerful hunger to understand, because once you understand that hunger, we get to a place where we can have some control over it by making sure we stay hydrated. Then if we move down to the next one here, we have this nutritional hunger. Well, nutritional hunger is maybe the only genuine hunger. This is where your body is missing some nutrients. It's missing something and it sends a signal. Unfortunately, because nature governed our food availability, there was no grocery store back then. There was no Whole Foods, right? So it wasn't like our body sent up this signal and said, go get calcium, go get iron, go get vitamin C. Instead, the body just created this general feeling of, oh, on nutrients, I had, right? It was more generic. Yeah, sometimes the craving might have had a direction. For example, if somebody was very low on iron or fats or proteins, maybe the craving for meat would have come up. Or, you know, if somebody was very low on sugars, maybe the craving for fruits would have come up. But the reality is that we would have a nutritional emptiness, and the directive to the body would be, go and eat. Just go and eat. And so we would go and eat, and presumably through the seasonal cycles, we would pick up the nutrients that we needed. Remember, this concept that we have in the various countries around the world of an RDA, or recommended daily allowance, is insane. I mean, it's an insane notion. Can you imagine, really, truly, can you imagine Mother Nature? You're out there 100,000 years ago living in the bush, and there's a single day in the calendar where Mother Nature goes, oh, look, here is a meal that has every single nutrient you could ever need right now in this one meal. No, we lived in a cyclical eating pattern, or seasonal patterns, where there were times when there was fruits on the trees and there were times when there weren't fruits on the trees. There were times when the hunting was good and there were times when the hunting wasn't good. So there should be maybe something more like a recommended annual allowance, because there are some nutrients that we don't need on a daily basis. Nonetheless, nutritional hunger, if we are malnourished, and we're going to have a hunger to eat generally. Of course, the problem now is that most of the food that is convenient around us is empty of any valuable nutrients. I mean, basically, the only real consistent nutrient load we get from food now is calories. Now, it's a nutrient, right? But it's not vitamins and minerals. It's not the stuff your body needs to build itself out of. So here we are, empty of nutrition. Then we get hungry. And the next thing you know, we go get a pizza, get nothing from that. And guess what? That's why we're still hungry. And then we end up wanting to eat some more and eat some more. And that's why, you know, the average person in the West is eating something like 3 times more than they need to in the day, and yet still starving because they're missing all kinds of nutrients. Very interesting. Then we have another hunger here called empty stomach hunger. Empty stomach hunger is not a hunger at all. It's a physical sensation that we have linked to hunger. So what does that mean? Well, your stomach being empty is not a bad thing. In fact, there's a lot of good things that happen when your stomach is empty. One of the things that happens is that the human stomach is, it's like a transformer. It's able to shrink down, and it's able to expand up for times when there was a lot of abundance. You know, if the trees were full of fruits, then we would eat and eat and eat and eat. Stretch out our stomachs. Or a packing lifestyle, we ate what was available all through the day. Now, when the stomach is empty, it creates a number of benefits, including, like, you know, cleaning out the digestive system, including a surplus of energy, because digestion takes a huge amount of energy. So in a weird, ironic twist, we eat food to get energy, but it takes energy to process that food to get the energy. So when your stomach is empty, you actually end up very often with a bit of an energy surplus, because your body's not spending all this calories processing food. The problem we have is the linkage. What I mean by the linkage is that it's kind of like the Pavlovian dog response, right? The dogs, you put the meat in front of the dogs and ring the bell. You put the meat in front of the dogs and ring the bell, and pretty soon you can ring the bell and they salivate. They've linked up the ringing bell to hunger, right? Well, what's happened to us is that most of us are hungry most of the time a little bit. When we feel like we're not hungry, when we feel full, that's not a question of hunger or not. Full is a physical sensation of having food in your system. Hungry is a sensation of missing water or valuable nutrients that are in your body. So it's entirely possible to be full and still nutritionally hungry. This is a problem. Now, the challenge is doubled when somebody is nutritionally hungry and then their stomach is empty. Because then they link up the empty stomach to the feeling of hunger, link up the empty stomach to the feeling of hunger, just like the bell and the dogs, right? And so pretty soon what ends up happening is they go, oh, my stomach is empty, therefore I'm hungry. No.
Eric,
it's not like that.
So if I can just ask or make a comment here. So that sort of explains to me that when I started, you know, doing the WildFit and, you know, gradually shifting and putting more in of the nutrients that are needed, and ate less and found that I was less hungry as I ate less. Would you say that that's part of what you just talked about?
Yeah, it's
in other words, that the, you know, I got less hungry as I felt less hungry, and I know that my peers that we did it together felt just less hungry. And I expected to feel more hungry, but I felt less hungry. So that's the nutrients and I learned to associate being well with having an empty stomach. And actually it's a really nice feeling. It's a light feeling. It's a nice feeling.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. The challenge is that we have a perception that feeling full of food means I'm not hungry. Feeling full of food just means you're full of food. And that food might be like, if we take a look at let's say somebody eats 2 big bowls of ice cream. I mean, frankly, there's nothing redeeming about eating that. There's no useful nutrients. I mean, we can have an argument later about whether there's calcium in the dairy milk and all this kind of stuff. But the reality is that if somebody just only was eating a big couple of bowls of ice cream, they could feel full, but their body would still be out there going, hey, I need some iron, I need some vitamin C, I need this, I need that. They'd still be nutritionally hungry. And you're absolutely right that when we boost somebody's nutrition up, then they stop feeling hungry. And let's be clear, as you know, we're not here to sell you any supplements. This isn't about supplements. This is done through food. We're talking about doing it through food. So let's, does that answer your question? Or more to the point, does that confirm? Because you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I don't have the image of the 6 hungers anymore.
It's coming back. Okay. So if we go back to the 6 hungers here, then the next one over, and this is the tough one for a lot of people. It's called hunger. And emotional hunger is when somebody has an emotional need. In other words, they're feeling a little lonely, or maybe a little depressed, or a little disconnected, or a little sad, or a little guilty, or something isn't right in their world. Then very often there's a food out there that can help fill that void. And, and how does that happen? Well, it happens any number of ways. The 2 biggest ways that it happens, one is accidental parenting. It happens because the child runs along and skins its knee. And you know what it's like, as a parent, I see my child crying. I would do anything to take them out of pain, right? And so what do? Maybe I hand them a chocolate chip cookie. And because that interrupts their pattern, and now they're not crying and what have you. And, I'll tell you the 2 things that'll happen. One is that's first of all, linking the chocolate chip cookie up to the feelings of love. The child's going, oh, my parent loves me so much. And here, because I'm feeling all this love with the hug and the kiss and the chocolate chip cookie. And so pretty soon the chocolate chip cookie becomes love. On top of that, think about the unconscious side. And I don't need to tell you, you know this better than I do. That kid is now learning that the easiest way to get a chocolate chip cookie is to fall down and skin its knee. The quickest way to raise a clumsy kid is to reward them for falling down, right? And so then 40 years old, feeling a little low, going through something tough, maybe there's an argument in the marriage or a divorce or just a rough day, and the next thing you know, a chocolate chip cookie is the answer because it's love. And so what we have to really help our clients do is to unlock that experience of hunger. In fact, a mutual friend of ours, Anat, she came on, Tara Rayburn, she came through the WildFit program as well. And one day we were having a conversation about this, about food. Now she'd done the WildFit challenge once and had incredible results. She came and did it again as a reunion client. And she asked me a question. She goes, I don't understand. I really feel totally free of all these foods, but I still have a thing about icing, and I'm not really sure what's going on with that. It's every now and again, every couple of weeks, I just feel like icing, and I don't know what's going on. And I said to her, well, did your mom used to bake? And she's like, yeah. And I said, so did she make icing, homemade? Because I had this vision maybe that her mom would make this homemade icing, and then she would get to lick out the bowl. And nope, her mom didn't make homemade icing at all. Her mom bought canned icing. And I go, oh, okay, so tell me about that. What was going on? And she goes, well, she would take the can and she'd open it and she'd put it on the kitchen counter. And then, I'm going to tell like she told it. She goes, and then I would have a spoon and I would sit under the table in the kitchen because it had a space there. And then when she wasn't looking, I'd sneak up and I'd scoop some out and I'd eat it. And she knew I was doing it and it was a game and we would laugh. And I go, okay. And unfortunately, I knew that there was, that this might be an ongoing issue because I said, well, is it possible it's not so much the icing that you're missing, but your mom? And she had a major breakthrough at that point because she's like, holy crap, I was eating icing to get those feelings back. And once you know that, once you understand what the feeling is, and that food will not actually satisfy it at all. It'll satisfy it, for a few moments. That the question you and I were talking about, right? When am I doing this for? Mm-hmm. I'm doing this for now. I'm not doing this for my health. I'm not doing this for an hour later when the icing's gonna make me feel like garbage. I'm doing it for now to fill this particular emotional void. We can change everything. And then it's not just accidental parenting, it's also the fully intentional and manipulative practices of the food industry to specifically tie foods to particular emotional states to take away your power. Chocolate? Valentine's Day? How did that happen? Well, no, let's get better. I mean, as I remember the Easter story, I went to an Anglican school, so we studied the Bible, and I grew up in a largely Jewish family, and we studied their version of the story. And I tell you, it doesn't matter which version of the story I've seen, there was no chocolate. There was the Easter Bunny and Pontius Pilate did not sit there and have a conversation together about putting Jesus anywhere. How did chocolate become Easter? And then Christmas? Christmas can't, if I remember correctly, when Jesus was born, they brought frankincense, myrrh, and gold, not candy canes, chocolate, and pumpkin pie. How did all those things become attached to that holiday? Because very smart people with a powerful understanding of psychology and marketing bought those emotional states with money so that people would not have a choice. We have clients that come to us and go, Eric, I don't really enjoy chocolate anymore, but Easter's coming up and I don't understand how to have Easter without eating chocolate. I go, well, then eat it. I don't want to though. Well, there you go. So that's where emotional hunger comes in, is for us to really evaluate why we're eating something that is not nutritionally valuable to us.
Yeah.
And then yeah, go ahead.
No, I just said, wow. I went to do my vegetable shopping, bulk vegetable for the smoothies in Costco 3 days ago. And a whole section of stuff disappeared because it was filled with chocolates. And I went like, what happened? It was like the chocolate invasion. And then I thought, oh, it is, Easter is coming. And I was thinking, for the first time I said, how did chocolate become Easter? And then Hanukkah is chocolate. I mean, it's just like food is associated with all holidays, but what food is given is, it's very interesting. Yeah.
And it's not just the holidays. Like, Anat, there's nothing more American than apple pie. Apples come from Kazakhstan. How did like some apple manufacturer manage to buy this official sponsorship of the American way? I mean, how did they do that? Smart marketing, really smart marketing. And we now need to undo that. We need to know. Here's really, Anat, this is fascinating. So Elise and I were at home right now. And I on Friday, I had a meeting on Friday, and I said, but I'm basically going to take Friday off. And she goes, why? And I go, well, because it's Good Friday. She goes, it is? Here's the thing. We're in a Catholic country. We're in a Catholic country, and yet we had no awareness that Easter was coming. Do you know why? Because we don't have shopping centers full of chocolate. The shopping mall looks just like it did the week before. Sure, they have a little chocolate section over there that might have a little more chocolate in it, but the marketing movement of Easter has not come here yet. So it's not a chocolate holiday here yet. So we had no awareness.
So what kind of food do you have where you are, or people have around Easter? What would they serve for the dinner and all that stuff?
I don't think it's dramatically different. I mean, maybe an individual Dominican family, has a little bit more of an Easter tradition, but it is not commercialized here the way it is in Canada, America, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, United Kingdom. It's just not like that here at all. It will get that way, by the way. A friend of mine wrote the other day and said that she had just gone to the Philippines for the first time in 10 years, and she said the food in the Philippines has just degraded and become dreadful. It's all fast food and deep fried now. And I said, here's why. It's no different than the tobacco industry. When the tobacco industry started to suffer, in about 1978 or 9, it finally switched over in North America that there were a majority of people not as non-smokers. Can you imagine? Up until that point in time, the majority of people in North America were smoking. Mm. Isn't that amazing to think about? Like, Anat, do you remember people used to smoke in the movie theaters and on planes? I mean, holy cow. And so as tobacco sales went down in America, the tobacco companies doubled up their efforts to sell their wares other places. They went to the third world and they started selling cigarettes like crazy. Now, the same thing's happening with food. As North Americans are wisening up and no longer, like you look at McDonald's, for the first time they've got restaurants closing, they're really struggling to find their way because people are waking up. And so as the American population wakes up to what the fast food industry did to them and is doing to them, then those companies are pushing themselves out into other places. One of the reasons we like living here in the Dominican Republic is, I don't know if in the big cities, but nowhere near us is there a McDonald's, a KFC. We have an 8-month-old baby. I would rather that she figures out her own rules about food and health before that marketing starts to try to influence her. So that said, let's move on. Sorry?
Yeah. Let's move on. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about low blood sugar hunger. This one's a really fascinating one. If you know anybody out there, if you know anybody that has like mood swings, they could have mood swings for any number of, this is a men and women thing. Men tend to have less cycle to their mood swings, but they can have them too. And women sometimes have a bit of a cycle to their mood swings. But I will tell you that very often those mood swings are driven by a blood sugar fluctuation. So when somebody's blood sugar starts to drop down, then they start to become a little bit more aggressive. Their energy may go down, but at the same time, their temper may go up. I believe the reason for this is that, if you go back 100,000 years ago where, it wasn't like you could just go get food whenever you wanted. Food was scarce. You had to work at it. You had to go find it. And sometimes you had to fight for it. And I think the idea was that as your blood sugar would get lower, your temper would come up to give you more fuel to fight for your right to eat. I think that was what was going on. The big challenge that we have, though, is that our bodies have two fuel systems. We can metabolize fat, or we can metabolize sugar. We basically turn fat into sugar, but that's a slow process. When we eat dietary sugar directly, we immediately have sugar to process right that moment, which is where we can get the sugar rush from. But then our lives can be emotionally a big up and down. Oh, I ate something sugary, I'm feeling good. Oh, I didn't, I'm down, I'm up, I'm down. Whereas when we move toward a fat burning metabolism, we can have a much more sort of level existence. And that's where our cravings fade away, our mood swings crave away, our energy levels are consistent. We don't feel tired at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And not one of the things that I think attracted so many members of the TLC to come and do the WildFit Challenge was that as they'd gotten to know me, they knew that like them, I was flying around the world and I'd be in one city and I'd be on stage for 10 or 12 hours. And then I'd go to the next city and be on stage for 20, and I don't do jet lag and I don't get sick and I don't get tired. And they're like, how do you do that? And one of the keys to that is having a metabolism that's focused on processing fat over sugar, which means that I'm never eating to get energy for today. I'm eating to get energy for next week. And so that low blood sugar thing, if we can help people turn that around, it changes their whole eating patterns. It changes their behavioral patterns. It changes their relationships. It's a phenomenal thing to fix. And then of course, there's variety. Variety is a very interesting evolutionary directive. It's basically designed, in my opinion, to prevent us from overeating any one food source and getting the broader spectrum nutrient requirements filled. In other words, let's say there's a time of huge abundance, the rains are here, the plants are growing and what have you. So let's say there's like a lot of plants around and we're eating tons and tons of plants. But I think what would happen eventually is that through a combination of nutritional hunger and also a desire for variety, we would start, be like, Anat, geez, I'm really tired of this particular plant. Do you want to go try something else? Should we go see if there's any root vegetables around? That takes a little more effort to go get the root vegetables because we got to dig them up. Whereas these ones are just here on the surface. But I'm now tired of them, so I'm willing to do a little extra work to get the extra variety. And then maybe we eat those for a while, and then pretty soon you go to me and go, Eric. I go, yeah. Eric, I'm a little tired of these root vegetables, and I feel like we need an antelope. We got to go get an antelope. Now you got to think, in order for us to go hunting, we would need a tremendous amount of motivation. And again, I recognize some people on this call might be vegetarians. We can talk about that as well. I'm just talking more in human evolutionary terms where there would have been a hunting cycle. But the point is, think about how dangerous hunting was. Don't imagine for a moment that our favorite animals to hunt were little antelopes and rabbits and things. No, our ancestors, their favorite animals to hunt were pachyderms, elephants and rhinos and big animals because they're easy to track, they're easy to hunt, and and they give you a great payoff. But the problem is, when I say easy to hunt, they're also dangerous. So you got to think that before you could 100,000 years ago talk me and my buddies into going to get, go get us a hippo, we'd have to be pretty hungry for variety and fat and protein and stuff like that for us to be motivated to go risk our lives. And so that directive for variety is really important. The problem today is there is so much abundance of variety that we can satisfy that need for variety like every day. And that generally means eating far too much of the wrong things. So those are the 6 hungers, and the purpose in understanding them is to slow time down and pay attention to what is making the food decision. Why is somebody choosing to eat a given food at a given moment? And when they can really understand that, then there's 2 big things they can do. The one is they can take preemptive steps to prevent that situation from coming up. In other words, somebody's feeling an emotional hunger, they're feeling lonely, and they think a chocolate chip cookie is going to fix it. Well, then instead what they might do is call somebody they love, or book some time to go for a walk with somebody or what have you, and fill that need emotionally so that food is not the answer. On the other level, people will go, I wonder if maybe I'm dehydrated and that keeps making me eat. Well, then get super, super hydrated and you'll eliminate one of the 6 hungers entirely. So I hope that gives some people some real, excuse the metaphor, but some real meat to process. Some good information to really to be able to action.
You just lost all the vegetarians. No.
And by the way, I know that we do have vegetarians very often come and do our programs. And sorry?
I didn't say anything.
Anat, I think we lost the connection there for a minute. On my back? Okay. I was just saying, yes, we maybe did jokingly lose a few vegetarians. But what really amazes me is we've had quite a few, like many vegetarians. WildFit is quite popular in India. And we have lots of vegetarians that do the program. Some of them remain vegetarian through the program. Some of them don't. But the key thing is that we're talking about really balanced nutrition and psychology. And so the choice of whether or not somebody eats meat or not is only one small part of the entire thing.
Yeah, I love the 6 hungers. I loved hearing it again. There's always more for me to learn. And so I would like, do you have anything to tell the audience before, or for those who might not choose to join the WildFit program? I hope everybody will, but maybe before that part, can you tell a little bit? I know that what you offer is not a medical program. It's not done with medical purposes. It's done for enhancing health. If I can just talk a minute from my world, my work, when people come to me, let's say with back pain, I don't know how to fix back pain. I honestly, genuinely do not know how to fix back pain. I don't know I cannot help anybody, but what I can do is help somebody organize their movement, calibrate their thinking, all the stuff that we do around movement and the feeling of self and the cognition associated with it to get better, and the pain goes away. So I call my work, even though, I work hard, the lazy person's approach to health. I don't have to struggle with a problem because I truly don't know how to fix problems. But I know how to help people organize themselves better and do better, upgrade the way their brain works, and then many, many problems go away. So the reason I'm giving all this, and I'm not a medical person and I have no medical claims at all, even though I do work with people that also need to go to the doctor for the same reason they come to me. I know that one of the things that happens is that expected health benefits that people got, even, like literally going and doing the medical tests. And could you tell a little bit about that? Because I'm one of the people that's encouraging you to actually start, accumulating large numbers, information and numbers from large numbers of people, because I think it can be very valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a personal note for you and me for a moment. I will tell you that we are currently having a conversation with a researcher to very specifically help us really measure what's happening inside the program, because it is that. I mean, she approached us as a client and said, I want to take this project on because you need to have like serious numbers to go to the press with and to go to the medical community with. And so
I want to still connect you with Martha, because, you know,
please, yeah, for sure.
One of the world top people doing that in functional medicine and so on. So yeah, go ahead.
Good deal. So yeah, you know, obviously, I think the way you put it is very similar to the way we think about it. You know, people call us up and they email us and they go, well, can you help me with my fibromyalgia or my, you know, my headaches or my diabetes or my blood pressure or my cancer or my whatever. And our answer has to be for really largely also for, you know, for reality and for legal reasons. No matter what results we've ever created for another client, this is not a medical program. We're not offering to cure anything. Well, maybe we're offering to cure some cravings here and there, and we're offering to cure some food addiction, but that's okay. That said, anecdotally, we've had phenomenal results with people. I just interviewed one of our clients as part of a little documentary series that we're putting together. He's a medical doctor in California, funny enough, as you are, and he did the program, and he's, you know, I can't remember offhand his age, but I suppose he's probably about, you know, in his mid-50s or so. I'm guessing. I think he's a little bit older than me, but in any event, he did the program, and he lost about 50 pounds, and he was in the danger zone of type 2 diabetes, and now he's not at all anymore. Now, as a medical doctor, he was pretty impressed by that, as you can imagine, because medical doctors are taught to go treat that symptomology, not necessarily. And so, but in the meantime, he admitted a little secret admission to me, and this happens quite a lot, where people will join our challenge and then let their relatives watch the videos and participate secretly on the side, pirating our program. And you know what? We don't care. We don't care. Like, go tell people, get the word out there. You notice I don't hold anything back on a webinar. I'm giving I want people to change their health, whether they come with us or not. And so he let two of his clients, his patients, to be clear, because he is a doctor, he let two of his patients sneakily follow the program with him, and he managed to take them off 5 prescription medications. And so as a consequence of that, he's now becoming a WildFit coach. He's in training now to become a WildFit coach, and he wants to introduce WildFit into the local medical school where he's studying, where his daughter's currently studying. So we've had many, many cases like that where, you know, particularly the first ones that came up were diabetes related. We had type 1 diabetics that would come into the program and end up cutting their insulin use down by 50 to 70%. And this was like a fairly consistent thing. It wasn't like one person. It was like type 1 diabetics that did the program. There was one recently, a guy named Chuck, young kid, type 1 diabetic. He lost 40 pounds and cut his insulin use down by 70%. And now he's like our biggest advocate anywhere, is all over the world telling everybody it doesn't have to be this way. Type 2 diabetics, there's even better news for them. We had to create a new term, and that term is post-diabetic. The term didn't really exist. We had to create it because we had a few clients that would come and do our program, and they would be diabetic or pre-diabetic, or let's say they were type 2 diabetic, and then they would go and get their blood test done with their doctor, and their doctor would say, you're not diabetic anymore, you're pre-diabetic. And I have a grammatical problem with that. If somebody was type 2 and they've turned the trend in the other direction, then how can you call them pre-diabetic? Even though the numbers are the same, but they're in the trending in the other direction, they have to be called post-diabetic. And so the good news for people with type 2 diabetes is that diet and lifestyle, it appears, can really help to deal with type 2 diabetes. It doesn't have to be this way. We've had similar things with people that have thyroid dysfunction, where they've come and done the program, and then their doctors have said, you don't need thyroid support medication anymore. A very common one for us is people that are taking blood pressure medications. We actually have to issue a specific warning to our clients. If you are on medication designed to lower your blood pressure, you must get regular blood pressure checkups while you're on the program, because it is in all likelihood that functional food is going to lower your blood pressure. And if you are taking medication to lower your blood pressure at the same time, you might have major dizzy spells. You might even pass out. So you need to watch this stuff. Again, absolutely normal for our clients to write to us and tell us, my doctor has ordered me off my prescription medications. Our answer to this, because now people come and go, well, you're curing things. No, we're not. What we're doing is supporting one of the core WildFit principles, and that is, no matter what the dysfunction, no matter what the illness, no matter what the injury, the body is going to be best served to cope with that problem with optimal nutrition. That's it. It doesn't matter what the disease is. It doesn't matter what the injury is. And you might remember, I may have told you the story about having my wisdom teeth taken out. I had my wisdom teeth taken out in Corte Madera, not far from you. And the doctor said he couldn't take them all out at once. That would be too hard on me. And I said, no, I don't. I look at my speaking schedule. I don't have a chance to be here for 3 weeks. You're going to take them all out at once. And he made me sign, it's California, right? He made me sign a 400-page disclaimer. I'm kidding. It was about 4 pages, but a disclaimer saying that he would take them all out, but it was my fault if it went wrong or whatever. But where it got really magical is I followed one of the core WildFit principles for what to do. There's a specific WildFit strategy for recovering from injury. And I followed that principle for the week before the surgery and the week after. And I went to go see him after the surgery, and he took one look at my mouth and he looked at the chart and he said, Eric, when were you here? And I said, well, I was here a week ago. And he goes, yeah, that's what the chart says, but I thought it was wrong. And I said, why? Why would you think it's wrong? And he goes, I've been doing this for 10 years and I know exactly what the healing pattern is from this surgery. And you had all of them taken out, which should, if anything, slow things down a little bit, but yet your mouth is fully 3 weeks healed after only a week. Now, where he was different than my doctor from 20 years ago, he didn't sound like he was a car salesman. He immediately said, how did you do this? And I gave him the recipe. I told him what to do. And now, as far as I know, he told me he was he now tells his clients before surgery, you should do these things. So yes, we are definitely working very hard to have an influence on the nutritional aspect of medicine, because Anat, one of the things that scares me to no end, I have asked doctors all over the world, literally in probably 15 or 20 countries. I asked them 2 big questions. How long were they in medical school, which is usually between 6 and 10 years? And then how much time was that 6 or 10, how much of that 6 or 10 years was spent studying food? And the answer is almost always none. And we need to change that.
And some of what is taught is not that great. So if it's taught at all. But this is really wonderful what you just told us. It's truly revolutionary. And I'm going to plug in a little bit here from my world. Again, it's the same vein. When somebody needs help to function better, be it that they had stroke or they want to do better in athletics, or no matter what they do, if you get their brain to work better, everything they will do will work better. So it is in the context of what they're learning. But and Michael Merzenich, the neurologist, when they did the program to help children with autism, to help children who had difficulties with reading and writing, they discovered that it also helps autism, and they weren't even aiming on autism, because when you help the brain work better, then everything works better. When you give the body the nutrition, and what you do is not just the nutrition for me, it's all the mental, cognitive, emotional rearrangement that goes with it, because we can really deplete ourselves nutritionally if we get emotionally in a bad space, right?
Yeah.
We imbalance. We can balance the body from different directions. We can imbalance it from different directions. And I think what you cover is you really cover it, so when you do the nutrition well, it optimizes its success by working with the emotion. Yeah.
Not, it really, really does. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about sports performance, academic performance, or healing, or economic performance in business. Let's be really clear. And I was, when I finished high school, I was in a very bizarre situation where my parents didn't have enough money to send me to university, but my dad had just he was an alcoholic, and he just turned his life around, and he was making enough money that I didn't qualify for student loans. So in this weird, ironic thing, I couldn't get a student loan, and I couldn't afford to go to university. I was just stuck. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is I didn't go to business school. I didn't study law. I didn't do any of the traditional things to be a business owner. And yet here's the deal. I started my first company and sold it 9 years later and basically retired. How did I do that? Where did the energy come from? Where did the passion come from? Why was I able to work all those hours and not get sick? Why was I able to do that? Then I went on to speak in 20 countries around the world as a business speaker. Then I bought my movie studio in California, which, as you know, used to be the Lucasfilm property there with, you know, Industrial Light and Magic. I was working on the coolest movies like Avatar and stuff. I'm not saying any of these things to impress anybody. What I'm saying is I've had an unbelievably interesting and full life so far. And it's because when I was 21 years old, I took charge of my eating. I took charge of my health, which means that I think more clearly. I've got a good memory. I have good motivation. I don't have 4 o'clock energy crashes. These things translate extremely well. I don't care if you're parenting or running the 50-yard dash. We need our bodies to be in good health to be good at whatever we want to do. So what I'd love to do is leave people with some strategies for what they can do. You know,
that's what I was going to ask you, to give people something, a takeaway. Yeah.
All right. So there's a couple things from a food perspective. What I'm going to tell you is mostly what you already know. With a slight little twist. The first thing is what you really need to do is make sure that you're eating a really good variety and quantity of the best possibly produced, you know, variety and quantity of the best possibly produced plants that you can get, fruits and vegetables. We humans used to eat 200 different plant species a year, and now we eat as a population less than 5 per person. It's ridiculous. And the only reason it gets up to 5 is because the FDA in America decided that pizza counts as one of those 5. I mean, it's insane. So the first thing is to really dramatically increase the intake of vegetables and fruits and that sort of thing. And then the other one is that for those people who do eat animal proteins and that kind of stuff, is that to get the best possible sources. The very best sources are going to be things like buffalo and elk and those kind of things, because they're the closest match to the kind of meat that we used to eat. That doesn't mean we can't eat beef. It just means that when we choose to eat something like beef or chicken, we want to get free range organic wherever possible. Again, most people kind of recognize these basic fundamental nutritional truths. Once you've stepped all that stuff up, then it's worth looking at removing some of the less functional things. Like, you know, many people could probably benefit from changing their relationship with caffeine and sugar and processed foods and chemicals and GMO foods, you know, those things as well. That's secondary to getting your nutritional needs met. So first thing is get your nutritional needs met. Second thing is get rid of some of the non-functional things. Now, in order to make these things happen, here's some tools. One is have a team around you. Like, what I mean by that is that your health, just like your wealth, will end up being about the average of the 6 people you spend the most time with. It's just this bizarre thing. The 6 people that you spend the most time with will have a huge influence on how much money you make, on how much money you save, on what kind of food you eat, and what kind of health you experience, and what kind of relationship you have. Anat, I was with Beth and Ivan Meisner a couple of weeks ago. For those of you guys who don't know Beth and Ivan, they're the founders of BNI, Business Networking International, and phenomenal people. And Elise and I were sharing with them this funny little game we have where we have a friend leveling gamification with our friends. And it goes like this. How many countries have we been in with each person? So for example, you and I have been in America together, and we've been in Mexico together. And you weren't in Croatia, were you?
No, but the Caribbeans, I think we were
That's right. So you and I would be like level 3 friends, right? And so then but I have a few friends that I'm like level 10, 11, or 12 with, because I've been on speaking tours with them and this kind of stuff. So I shared this as a bit of a joke with Ivan and Beth, because we're now like level 8 with them. And so they said, well, we have a similar thing. And we go, what is it? And they go, we won't hang out with couples that don't have great marriages. Theirs is way better. You know, ours is fun, theirs is real. And so what we would do is make sure that you surround yourself with people. It doesn't mean you have to say goodbye to the other people, but surround yourself with people that are also interested in optimizing their health and eating well and that kind of stuff. And then the other thing is this, is not to try to make a massive sweeping change on a single day. We know that the diet industry is largely failing people around the world, because what it tries to do is get people to take on a huge set of rules for a fixed period of time, restricting them. What I'm asking you to do is not live with restriction, but to live with freedom. One of my clients came to me about 3-4 years ago, and he really needed to lose weight. He's a big guy, Scandinavian guy, and he was overweight. And he came to me and he goes, yeah, Eric, I don't think I can do your program because I really value my freedom. Freedom's a big value to me. And I go, hey, look at the way I live my life. I live in the Caribbean. I'm here because I could live anywhere in the world I want. I live here because I want to be kiteboarding, the ultimate expression of sports freedom. Like, freedom is one of my biggest values. So he goes, yeah, but all this restriction around food, diets just don't work for me. I value freedom. I said, what does freedom mean to you? And he goes, it means I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want. And I go, okay, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I said, can you not eat what you don't want to eat whenever you don't want to eat it? And he goes, what? What do you mean? And I go, well, like, what's one of the foods that you love being able to eat all the time? And he goes, like, pizza. I love pizza. And I go, well, all right, we just had lunch because we were at an event. We just had lunch. I said, we just had lunch. But if I were to go get a nice, big, warm, steaming pizza and I put it here in front of us, would you eat it? And he goes, yeah. I go, why? Because it's pizza. And I go, but we just ate. You're not really hungry right now, are you? And he goes, no, but it's pizza. And I go, would you have one bite or would you just keep eating until the whole pizza was gone? He goes, well, I would eat until I was totally full. Sound familiar to anybody? Or until the pizza was gone. And I go, but should you? And he goes, no, I know I shouldn't, but I'm free to. And I go, I know you're free to, but what it sounds to me like is that you're not free not to. You know, it's in our program, and today he is more than he's ever been. He's also about 70 pounds lighter than he was then. And he is now free to walk past and croissants and pizzas and whatever the case may be. He's free of those foods. So what I want to suggest is that people don't try to make these big sweeping New Year's resolution type changes. What you do is make changes in an orderly way that allows you to create a lasting change in your life. Don't think of diets, think of lifestyle. The word diet does not mean temporary alteration to your eating pattern in order to fit into that outfit for the wedding. Diet means lifestyle. For every animal on earth, that's what it means. When we talk about the elephant's diet, we know that elephants eat 200 kilograms of grass and bark every day, and they drink 70 liters of water. We know that the cheetah eats 2.5 kilograms of fresh meat every day that it can. We know that the leafcutter ant, bizarrely, does not eat leaves at all, but it goes out and gets the leaves and it grows a fungus because it's a fungivore. It's a fungivore. They eat fungus that they farm. We know that every animal on earth has a diet, and so do we. And so what we want to do is make the steady, orderly changes toward a lifestyle change rather than a big sweeping change.
Eric.
Yes.
Fantastic. We're almost at the end of the hour. And I do want you to tell people about the program for those who are interested, how they could get to it. And I don't know if you have a special offer for my people or you don't, but I think you do, right?
We absolutely do. So let's do this. The first thing is, the way this program was created was that I was having a lot of luck working with clients on a one-on-one basis. If somebody came to me and they were looking to get rid of some other symptomology or lose weight or gain weight or whatever it is they wanted to do, we were having really good results with them, but it wasn't leverageable. You know, if it's one-on-one, I can only help so many people at a time. And so we started doing group coaching classes where I would take 8 or 10 people and put them on a class. And then the problem was that it could no longer be custom. It couldn't be, you know, like, I couldn't like create 8 different programs for those 8 people. So I started having to figure out what was the ultimate program that would work for the highest majority of people. Now, looking at the diet industry, the average book that puts a program together, what ends up happening is a very, very small number of people read the book, follow the rules, and get the results. A slightly larger number of people read the book, follow the rules, and get results for a short term, and then yo-yo right back to where they were before, plus 3 pounds, just statistically. And then a larger number of people won't ever read the book and won't follow anything. I didn't want that. I wanted something more lasting. And so we ended up creating a structure. And listen carefully, guys, because you can follow the structure. You don't need me. I'm just saying I'll create the structure for you. You can do it with me. But we created a structure, and the idea was that we would make incremental change. First of all, we put people on teams together so that they would have a culture that they could work with. And then we put them on that team and then create for them a structure where they would focus on very specific things each week in order to create a lasting change. One of the most amazing things about the feedback that we get from clients all over the world, and by the way, any of you can go to our Facebook page and go look at, we have a 4.9 rating with, I think, like 100 reviews on there. Go read them. One of the common threads that you'll get in there is people go, this is the way I live now. This wasn't a diet. This was a lifestyle change. It's not that I don't eat those foods. It's not that I don't eat foods that I want. It's that I don't want them anymore. And by doing this in a carefully staged process, that's the gift that we can give you, is that the foods that you currently think you don't like, you'll be surprised to find that there are some really healthy foods that you actually do like. You just don't know how yet. And then there are foods right now that you really, really like, you think. But it turns out you don't like them nearly as much as you think you do, but you like the emotion of them. And we're going to show you how to identify that stuff week by week. So the way the program works is that we put people on a group together. And then each week there's pre-recorded video content that guide them through the process. And many people around the world do the program just like that, just with the videos every week. The first week there's videos every day. The second week, there's videos every day guiding you through very specific psychological and mental processes. And then after that, there's a video every Monday and every Friday that guides you through what the changes of that given week are. And all the way through to the 13th week, when again, there are daily videos every day of the 13th week to give you strategies for how to live this way out in the future. And then on top of that, there's a bunch of bonus videos on specific topics like, say, nicotine addiction and the dairy industry and the role that the dairy industry plays in our nutrition and other things like that. Bonus videos that are there to give you the educational background that you need to make really good decisions. Now, many people around the world do that program just like that. They go to our website, they sign up, and they just watch the videos and do the program on their own. What we know is that that's effective. But what we also know is that it's way more effective with coaching. It's way more effective when somebody works with a coach. Now, I don't very often coach classes anymore. I train coaches. That's what I'm now doing. We have coaches in 8 countries around the world, and I train coaches. But when we had this opportunity to do this with you, Anat, we said, I'm going to teach a class. So I'm going to teach a class that's coming up in May. I've got the dates here. It starts on May 8th. So it's going to be a normal structured class with the video content and the access to the membership site. And then I will be coaching the classes live, which means that there are sessions with me throughout the entire process and we do them much more interactive. In fact, Anat, I'm happy. I'm sure you must have a schedule after this, but I'm actually happy after we're all done. If there's any Q&A people want to do, I'm happy to do that. But that's how we do the calls. We use Zoom just like we do now. People have their cameras turned on, and I interact with them and coach them through their food decisions, as you know, Anat. So that program starts on the 8th of May. And it's $350 a month for the 3 months. This is a no-brainer. There's a money-back guarantee. If you follow the program and it doesn't work, we just give you your money back. Now, there's not, you do the program. If it doesn't work, we just give you your money back. That doesn't happen, but if that happens for you, then we'll happily give your money back. And what we've done, yes?
I'd like to just say, I just got goosebumps when you said you're going to do it, because you are just a phenomenal coach. You are just amazing. I probably would like to just have a plug into the program just to listen whenever I can, because I just get so inspired by the way you teach. It's not just the content,
absolutely,
who you are. And I really, for any one of you who's considering taking advantage of Eric making time to teach, because he takes business people up to Kilimanjaro. He does weird stuff. And if he was able to make himself available for that, oh my God. I hope you're making it available to more people than just my people. I'd like lots and lots of people to get value from that.
Yeah, we will. We decided to do it for you, and then we're gonna open the class up a little bit. So we'll see what happens there. The other thing that we've done, but this is only for your class. I'm not saying we won't do it for others, but it won't be this way publicly. What we're doing for your class is a 30% off discount for your people. So basically, they get a whole month for free. So there's a code, and we're going to send this all out to everybody who registered. We're going to send it out to you by email. But the code is Anat 30WF. But we're going to send this to you by email. You don't need to remember.
And send it to us to my. I want to gift it to my daughter. Send it to us too. Yeah.
You know what? I just realized that the link to register is already in the chat window. So for those of you who aren't really familiar with Zoom, in the bottom of your screen, there's an area down there where it says chat. If you click on that, it'll open up a panel to the right, and I'll make you a deal. A couple things. First of all, there's a link in there where you can register, and the code I just posted in there, Anat 30WF, will give you 30% off. So you just go to that page, punch in that code, hit go, and it'll knock 30% off for you right now, just because you were on this webinar with us. If you're on the replay and you're watching this, the code may not work anymore. It works. If that happens to you, you can write to our help desk, and if they can turn it on for you, they will. But if you're live now, it'll definitely work for you, and you'll get your 30% off. We start on the 8th of May. Give me 3 months, and let me give you back your relationship with food. For those of you who have weight you want to lose, let me help you with that. For those of you who are tired of being tired at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and tired of waking up tired, let me show you how to deal with that. For those of you who are dealing with symptoms, let me show you what it's like to let your body heal with a really, really, really healthy relationship with nutrition. And so I am absolutely thrilled that we're going to be doing this program. Anat, I want to thank you so much for creating the space for us to introduce this to your people. I know that that's not something you do easily. It's, you know, it's funny. We have lots of people who come to us and go, I want to help promote you and blah, blah, blah. But many of them are promoting things every week. I know this is very rare for you, and I don't take that lightly. I really appreciate it.
Actually,
so
you're the very first time I'm doing
sorry.
this. Yeah, you're the very first time. Yeah. And I insisted,
well, I'm honored.
I hounded you, you know, the last TLC, because I could not advocate for what you do as well as you can. And now, you know, there's a link, my people can go and see anytime. So it's really fabulous.
Yeah. And for any of you who came in a bit late, we're going to send out a link to the recording. So you'll be able to review it, no problem. And we'll help you do that. And this is my suggestion. Sorry?
And just make sure, we will have the link so we can put it on our Facebook and so on and so forth. Yeah.
That sounds great. Absolutely. And here's my suggestion. I know that we're done, that we've hit time, and I don't know what your schedule is. I'm actually just looking at mine to make sure that I'm okay. What I want to suggest is that if you have any questions at all about anything, like really about anything, about the program, about food, about Africa, what it is, then you can either put them in the chat area here, or you can, like, there's a little, well, it looks like most hiding in anonymity with you, a little bit of conversation. I'm happy to do that. And I'm happy to take questions from anybody out there at all, if there are any. I realize this has been a bit like a TV show and a little anonymous, so you don't feel like it's interactive. But if you do have any questions, let me know, and I will do what I can to answer you. Barbara, no, you don't prepay. As I understand it, it's $350 per month on a payment plan, minus the 30% to start. But if you actually prepay, it's actually even cheaper than that. There's a one-off payment that's even cheaper than the $350 per month, and you can still get the 30% off that price as well. Great question, Barbara. I should have covered that. Thanks for mentioning it. My 7-year-old son has autism and sugar cravings. This is a really fascinating thing. So first of all, again, remember, I'm not a doctor. I'm not talking about cures. What I am saying is that it appears that children, or actually people on the autism spectrum, some are on the autism spectrum, or also in the ADHD world, it appears that some of their symptomology is amplified by refined sugar consumption. And that's a harsh reality, because of course, we have a powerful human instinct for sweet things. That's because of seasonal fruits. You have to imagine, fruits were only around for a very short time. So if you weren't motivated to go get them, you wouldn't get them. Somebody else would get them. And guess what? You didn't survive. So we had to have a powerful craving for sugar. Unfortunately now, sugar is around us everywhere. And so this becomes a little bit of a challenge. And so one of the things that we tell people with children generally, actually not just with children, with anybody they want to influence, is never push, always lead. Never push, always lead. Some of our very best WildFit success stories are family members who were not pushed but led along. Just about 3 weeks ago, I was having a conversation with one of our clients in Argentina. And he says, I signed up for the program. I told my wife, she was annoyed with me. She told me she would not shop for me. She would not make food for me. I was on my own. And he goes, that's hilarious, because last night we went for dinner with some friends, and they asked about how I'd lost all this weight and why I looked so good. And my wife spent 15 minutes selling them WildFit, because she had also, after seeing my results, signed up for the program. So this doesn't specifically help how you might influence a child with autism, because I don't know where on the spectrum you are. If you're dealing, like my son has like, he's like on the very far end of the spectrum with a little bit of Asperger's kind of a thing going on, they say. We all debate whether it's real or not. But one of the things that's changed is that his sugar consumption has gone down dramatically over the last 2 years. So, I wonder what's going on. Now, if we're talking about a child that you have to be providing more care for, then that's really easy, because you just remove the refined sugar out and you'll make a big impact. But I would really love to have you on the program. And here's why. If you do end up on the program, I see 2 people have written about autism. If you do end up on the program, I definitely want to make sure that you contact our help desk, which is helpdesk@clientservices.ee. We'll give you these details once you're registered anyway, because we collect case study data for this type of stuff. And so if you do end up on the program, I'd like to know for sure. And remember, money back guarantee. If you do it and it doesn't get you the results you're looking for, notice that I'm not talking about specific results. It's your results. It's your expectations. If it doesn't happen, then you get your money back. Somebody asked what the single payment is. The single payment is $947. So if you don't want to pay monthly, you can pay the $947, save some money, and you get the 30% off that price. Let's see, where's the next one? Daniela, the number of meetings, I believe the way it works is that there are 3 live sessions in the first week and the second week, and then 1 live session per week after that until the final week when there are another 2 or 3. I will host the majority of those. We might have one of our master coaches fill in on some of those if I'm in travel and it's more convenient. Because there's so many people in the class, it's hard to move them. So sometimes it's better to sub somebody else in. But I will do the vast majority of the classes myself. I've even logged in from airports to do them because I'm so committed to getting people the results. John, I've read many times that dark chocolate is healthy to eat. But from you, I've heard only negative things about chocolate. Look, we can have a fun little conversation about chocolate. Here's the thing. Just because a food contains certain ingredients doesn't make it good for you. Like my desk, this desk here, it's made of wood. Look, wood, right? Wood has all kinds of really great nutrients in it. It does. It's got magnesium in it. It's got all kinds of great stuff. But I can't have it. I don't even care. I can't take my desk and put it in a blender and turn it into a smoothie because it doesn't matter what's in it. What matters is, does my digestive system have the capacity to extract those nutrients properly from wood? As I am not a beaver or a termite, I'm not able to do that. Now, what I would say to you about chocolate is that go and eat like completely dark chocolate. I mean, unsweetened, completely dark chocolate. What you will find is that 99.99% of people don't like it. It's overly bitter and it tastes awful. The way we make chocolate taste nice is by adding milk and sugar to it. And so then we can make the stuff edible. So what I would say to you is, again, remember, WildFit is not about like remove these dangerous foods, blah, blah, blah. It's really about boosting your nutrition up. So we have clients that eat chocolate. I very occasionally, my wife likes dark chocolate. So sometimes she has dark chocolate in the house. I might have some. It's rare for me. I don't really like the caffeine and some of the things that are in chocolate, so I don't tend to do it. But let me be really clear, John. Any piece of marketing, any piece of information that you've seen that claims that chocolate is good for you is humans lived for millions of years without chocolate just fine. In other words, it's not essential to us. I hope that answers your question. I'm not saying don't have it. I'm just saying don't believe everything you read about. Pretty much anytime you see something that says this food is good for you, it's because somebody paid to make that happen. And if I'm starting to sound a little bit like a conspiracy theorist to you, let me be very clear about something. In late 2016, the truth came out about the sugar industry. This came out in the widespread press. What happened is in the 1960s, there was some research coming out that demonstrated that sugar might be a contributing factor in the development of heart disease. And so what did the sugar lobbyist, the sugar agency, I can't remember the name of it often, they've changed names since then. They went and hired 2 Harvard researchers and commissioned them to do a study. I'm using air quotes on purpose. They created a study, and the stated purpose of that study was to blame fat for heart disease, to frame fat. And so that study got picked up and published in the New England Journal of Medicine, something which could not happen today. Because to now get studied in the journal, you have to disclose your funders, right? Your financial sources. But back then you didn't have to. So these guys, they did this study. They said that fat was the cause of heart disease, and boom, the study got published, and we created the whole low-fat movement. In the meantime, sugar just kept on killing people quietly behind the scenes. Again, I may sound a little fanatic here. I'm not saying you have to give up sugar for the rest of your life. What I'm saying is that in the 1970s, almost nobody in America under 40 had type 2 diabetes. And now they're suggesting that 1/3 of all children in America are facing type 2 diabetes. So consider that $50,000 spent by the sugar industry 30 years ago has made the sugar industry a whole lot of money, and it's made the pharmaceutical industry billions and billions of dollars. So I may sound a little like it's a conspiracy theorist, but the old expression is, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not working against you. So,
and they're not even, let me try and help you out here a little bit, Eric. It's not that they're working against us. They're just doing what works for them that happens to not be good for people. Does that make sense? So that takes it out of the paranoia. It's not like they're trying,
I missed that, Anat. What was that?
You know, in the corporations, the sugars are trying to hurt people. I said, it's not that they're working against us. It's not like they're people who are malevolent trying to hurt people. It's just that they're doing what they need to do or want to do to take care of their interests. And
I agree.
It happens to go against our interests. You know, so it's not malevolent. It's not malevolent, and it's not conspiracy. It's just how it works.
I agree, and the only proviso I put on that is that I think the same statement is true of the tobacco industry.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that people who did cigarettes wanted people to die of lung cancer. They just wanted to sell lots of cigarettes.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Daniela asks for the times and dates of the live coaching during the 3 months. Daniela, unfortunately, I do not have those, the times and dates for you. I can tell you that generally speaking, I schedule them for around, generally speaking, when I'm doing a live class, they're usually around about the middle morning East Coast time, so that our West Coast clients can get access and our European clients get access. That when I teach classes, because there's people from all over the world, I usually do them there. If there are any of you if there's enough people that are from the other side of the world, like the Singapore to Australia to Asia side of things, we occasionally do some bonus calls if there's enough people in any given group in those time zones as well. Tatiana asks, what are some of the results you've seen for women who have lower body fat? I believe I eat well, but I have problems with cravings, and I'm trying to break through to 17% body fat and below. So Tatiana, 17% is for a woman is very, very low. No, I don't think it's dangerous. I think it's fine. But what I would say is this will absolutely help you to get there without any question at all. One of my clients, albeit male, but he came into the program, I think he came in at about 12% body fat, which is probably not dissimilar from 17% for a woman, right? And he then ended up coming down to 8 or 9% and decided that he was more comfortable at 10 or 11 or something like that. But he now completely can control that because he understands the metabolism and understands the rules. So I would be very surprised if you didn't have some significant breakthroughs in that area. I don't know how to pronounce your name, Maimu. Any break for Canadian clients? Yes, 30% off. Plus, I'm Canadian, so I'll smile at you a lot, and I'll apologize when I do. Kidding, Canadian humor. But yes, I mean, there's not a specific break here for Canadian break. Please let that be enough. I don't want you to let a few dollars get in the way. And remember, if you don't get the results you want, do the program. Get your money back. It's a risk worth taking. I will take the risk. You don't have a lot to risk. CH, I crave seaweed snacks. Go for it. Seaweed snacks are fabulous. They're full of all kinds of good things. Just make sure that you read the ingredients, because unfortunately, now that the seaweed snack thing is caught on and it is a very healthy snack, unfortunately, a lot of the manufacturers have started putting sugar in them. So you just need to read the ingredients if you want to, the healthier choice would be to not have sugar in them. What's your more energy elevator pitch? Joan, my more energy elevator pitch. I don't know which way you want to go on how to get it or why to have it. But let's be really clear. The why to have it is very clear. If you're in business, if you're a parent, if you're a human being, having more energy means having more life. There's my energy pitch for you. In terms of the how to get it, again, very functional. Get your body the nutrition it needs and get rid of some of the things that are draining energy from it, and you will have more energy. You will sleep better. Your memory will work better. Many of us are making some very basic nutritional mistakes that mean that while we do sleep, we don't sleep well. In other words, we don't assimilate memories well. We don't defrag the hard drive, so to speak, for tech speak. We're not giving our brain the support it needs by not sleeping properly because of some nutritional mistakes we're making. And then on top of that, this is fascinating, but real healing takes place in the deepest levels of sleep. When your body can't even move, you are so asleep that this is, by the way, any of you that are parents, have you ever had that where you go and you check on your baby and you irrationally put your ear down to their mouth to hear if they're breathing because they don't appear to be moving? That's because they are in the deepest level of sleep at that point. And that is the level of sleep where the body does physical repair. And most of us are robbing ourselves of the REM sleep, which is good for our mind, and the deep sleep, which is good for our body, by making some basic nutritional mistakes. So while that's not an elevator pitch, I hope it gives you what you need, Joan. Thanks for asking. No supplements are needed. CH, thank you for the question. Let me be very clear about the WildFit position on supplements. The vast majority of supplements are simply contributing to expensive urine and messy oceans. I really want to be clear. There are times for supplements, but they are probably for every 10,000 pills that somebody takes, probably one of them was needed. Here's the thing. The WildFit approach to supplementation works like this. The word supplement means in addition to, not instead of. Most supplements are sold instead of, in addition to. They're being sold as a shortcut. Some of you may be familiar with Dr. Spock, not the pointy-eared one, but the pediatrician, right? And he was very famous. He was like the nation's pediatrician. And one day he came out against some foods that people consider to be mainstream foods. And he came out against them because they were wrong. And then one of his friends, no kidding, a friend of his came out and said, I think he was a little bit senile before he passed away. And so you should still eat all those garbage lobbied foods, right? Then the interviewer said to this doctor, I kid you not, the interviewer said, well, I don't really like fruits and vegetables. Do I have to eat them? And the doctor said this, no, I don't like them either. There's nothing you can't get out of a bottle anymore. Basically selling supplements as a replacement for whole foods. Absolutely not true. And you know, if I were in charge, he would no longer have a license to practice medicine. I'm not in charge, so he does. But what I'm getting at is that there is a time for supplementation, but it is only after we use food first to boost our nutrition in a major way. Then if there's a nutritional deficiency, a proven nutritional deficiency, not a theoretical one, not a marketing one, not somebody trying to scare you, a real proven nutritional deficiency, then you might look to supplements. And by the way, to give you an idea of what I mean by this, when my son was born almost 20 years ago, he was born in the United Kingdom, and in the United Kingdom, they send a health visitor to come to your house to make sure the child is being raised in a healthy environment and what have you. And she came for a few visits, and then on one of the visits, she, with her clipboard in her hand and her fancy name tag, said, I'm concerned about your child. I think he has an iron deficiency. Now, for any of you who are parents, if somebody with a clipboard says that they're concerned about your child, you immediately feel adrenaline, don't you? I did. But then I asked her, I said, wait a second, how can you tell? She goes, well, you know, what do you mean, how can I tell? I go, what's the symptoms? Like, is it something in his eye color, his skin? You know, what makes you think that he's iron deficient? She goes, oh, actually, there's no real sign of it. And I go, well, what do you mean? Is he healthy? And she said, and I'm not exaggerating, you guys. She said this. She goes, actually, he's the healthiest baby I've ever seen. She's been doing this for 15 years. He's the healthiest baby I've ever seen. And I go, well, then why are you telling me he has an iron? Oh, well, because the book says that based on what you're feeding, we might have an iron deficiency. Is that what would happen at that point is many parents would end up being talked into providing their child with iron supplementation. He didn't need that. He was healthy. That's our view on supplements. So CH, no supplements needed on the program and not advertised. Yeah, good question. All of the, yes, you're absolutely right, Sharon. Sorry, go ahead, Anat.
I'm so sorry. I mean, this is just so valuable. I'm sitting here fascinated, and I will need to say goodbye in about 2 minutes because I have to get on a conference call. But they're getting the experience of how generous and enthusiastic you are about what you do. So once you're there, you care that people get it. That's really why you do this program. I just love you. I think you're amazing. And I love your wife. And now I love your baby. I just met her over the screen. And is there a way that we can communicate the two of us a little later?
Absolutely. Absolutely, we will.
I'll call your cell.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, and thank you again, Anat, so very much. For the rest of you, I'll stick around for a few more questions. But Anat, I just want to say, I really, really appreciate you doing this. This is a mission for me, as you know, and I am blown away by the fact that we have grown. We do almost no marketing of any kind, and we've grown by last year by 1,000% simply because people like you have come along and said, come meet my tribe. And I just want to thank you so much for being part of that with us and making this happen.
Yeah, and thank you for providing this to my tribe. I love how you call them my tribe. I feel that way. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're very, very welcome.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. Okay, guys, I'll take a couple more. Where were we here? Sharon, are the recordings from the calls available? Yes, absolutely. So the live sessions that we do during the program, they are all recorded, and then they are uploaded to a private Facebook group and into the membership site where you have access to them. If you're busy that day or the time zone didn't work for you, what have you, they're all recorded. Great question, Sharon. Thank you very much. Does the program cover more than food? Joan, I think what you mean by that is, are we going to talk about exercise and other things? Yes, it does. We do discuss more than food, but we are largely focused initially on food. And the reason for that is that despite the claims of the workout industry, health recovery does not happen as a result of working out. Health recovery is improved by working out, but health recovery has to first start nutritionally. In other words, you kind of have to fill the tank up before you take it around the track. And so that's what we need to do. So we will talk about things like, sometimes we end up, a little bit of discussion about mental health and meditation. We will talk a lot about psychology, because a lot of the things that we discover about ourselves about food end up influencing the way we communicate in the rest of the world. Some of you will find, for example, that you stop procrastinating, or you procrastinate less often after you do the program. There's a reason for that, because the skill to procrastinate is the same skill that causes people to eat foods they wish they didn't eat. So when we change that, it changes your behavior in other areas of your life. So Joan, I hope that answers your question. How do we sign up now? Great question. The link was at the very top of the chat. My team, if somebody could repost the link and the code, because the chat keeps scrolling away, or if you could send that to Catherine directly, that would be great. Gail, what is the green drink that I see I'm not drinking? I'm assuming that it's an Alka-Geyser, which is one of the things that we'll teach you about, which is basically a green smoothie, and there are a couple different versions of it at different stages of the program. In fact, it's not just a nut. I've got mine going here as well. So thank you, good question. Could this help someone with a concussion? From the Cowan family. Well, what I would say is that, again, I'll reiterate one of the principles of WildFit, and that is that any dysfunction of the body, whether it be from an outside actor like a viral infection or bacterial infection or something, or an injury, or basically anything that's not right in the body is some kind of an imbalance. Any of those things are going to be supported well by having the best possible nutrition. And so I would say, yes, absolutely, recovering from any injury, whether it be a fracture, a concussion, a scratch, a cut, any of those things are going to heal more functionally with improved nutrition and reduced toxicity. So yes would be my guess. That's not a medical claim. It's just a statement of my opinion. My 93-year-old mom has horrible itchy skin and is in hospice. Can I feed her? What can I feed her to ease this itching? Well, Karen, your question is very good, but it's also demonstrative of our backwards thinking right now. Our backwards thinking is that we think of things as treatments. We think of fruits and vegetables as fighting disease, for example, but that's not actually what happens. What actually happens is the absence of certain things causes symptoms. You understand? So we think of it the wrong way. So I would guess that in the case of your mom, Karen, it's not so much what you can feed her to ease it. It's in your case, it's going to be a matter of what can you feed her to ease it and what might be causing the irritation. So I'm going to suggest to you, again, not being a doctor, having not met your mom, having not surveyed, I'm going to guess that in her case, she might want to cut down or cut out even for a period of time just to see what's going on. Dairy products like cheese and yogurt and that kind of stuff. You'd be surprised how often skin irritation can be influenced by dairy products. So you might want to consider that, Joan. If you do and it works, let me know. Yes, John, this webinar will be the recording. We are recording it, and we will be posting the recording afterward. So where am I here? My doctor said it is not good to drink raw vegetable juice. Look, I want to be clear. This is from CH. CH, let me just say this to you. The next time your doctor wants to give you any advice about anything that should pass your lips other than medication, what I would like you to do is ask him how deep his or her education is about that thing. So for example, on what is the basis upon which that theory is being given to you? How much time did your doctor go to medical school, and how much time did they spend studying nutrition? In other words, what business do they have giving you food advice is what I'd like to know. Now, I want to be really clear. The vast majority of doctors are unbelievably generous, amazing, wonderful people that would never have become doctors if not for a burning desire to help people. So I have huge respect for doctors. What I struggle with is the system that they are educated through. And the system they are educated through is largely built to sell pharmaceutical drugs and treatments, not cure, not prevention. And so your doctor says it's not good to drink raw vegetable juice. Here's what I would say. I'm not that big a fan of vegetable juice either, because we need the fiber, we need the whole vegetable. I don't like extracts. Anytime you extract one thing from a food, you're losing the symphony. It's like listening to one note from a gorgeous piece of music. So this is not a juice, it's a smoothie. It's been blended. In other words, the blender's doing the chewing for me. Would it be better if I chewed it myself? Yes, it would. It would be better. But who has time to be chewing all the time? And so we use a blender sometimes to make smoothies and stuff. So CH, I hope that answers your question. And I don't mean to be disrespectful at all. I hope it wasn't taken that way. I'm just saying that maybe you want to ask your doctor the question. How much do they really know about nutrition when he starts giving you advice about food? It's so funny how we will take advice from our doctors about food. If your doctor came along and told you you should change the fuel that you add to your car, you'd probably like, what? Why are you telling me that, doctor? But you should have the same reaction when your doctor tells you about food, unless your doctor has studied nutrition, which the vast majority of them have not. So let's see. John, yes, the single payment price is $947 and the 30% discount applies to it. So you, in a sense, you get a double level of discount there. Yes, absolutely. Katrine, you're on a paleo diet. Yes, I'm Lauren Cordain. Go and Google Lauren Cordain plus Eric Edmeades. You'll go and find a conversation that he and I had about WildFit and paleo. It turns out that he read the same paper that I read in 1996 or 97, and that's what got him to create paleo, and that's what got me to create WildFit. It's just that I was 20-something at the time and not a doctor and didn't know that I could turn it into a mission. I didn't understand that part of it until more recently. There are definitely some similarities. There are also some breaks. There are some differences between paleo and WildFit, and I think that you'll find that one of them is psychology. And that might be very, very helpful to you. So yes, Katrine, I would absolutely suggest. Many of our clients are paleo fans. I'm a paleo fan. I'm a big fan of Ray Audette, who wrote Neanderthal, and Lauren Cordain from the Paleo Diet, and Rob Wolf, and all these people. So yes, I think it will still be absolutely useful to you. Ola, can I read more about your program? Are there any books and so forth? Okay, so Ola, no, there is a book. There's a publication cycle happening for it now. There are reasons that I chose not to publish that book earlier. I'll tell you what they were. Why not, since we're having a casual conversation? I became aware of a friend of mine who wrote a really, really excellent diet book, but when he took the diet book to the publishers, they made him change aspects of it, because they said that some of his ideas were not mainstream enough and would hurt the sales of his book. And what I wanted to do is develop a massive enough following of WildFit around the world before we published the book, so the publisher could not. And that's why we're doing it this way. So we now have thousands of clients, 20 countries around the world. When we go to publish the book, we already have, for example, one commitment from one of our clients to email 2 million people to help us promote the book. So with that kind of marketing clout behind us, the publisher has less power to tell me what I can and can't put in the book. That's why the book's not out so far. I'm sorry. In the meantime, there's not much you can read about WildFit out there other than client reviews and that kind of stuff. You can go find that. There is some information at getwildfit.com, although I don't think I think the website's like just on one side of being upgraded, where there will be more information. We're now launching a WildFit blog that will help with that as well. And there definitely are some videos on YouTube that you can find out there as well. So Ola, I hope that helps. Barbara, I tried to register and it said the coupon didn't apply to my cart contents. So tech team, if you guys could get with Barbara and help her sort that out. If anybody is having any problems at all, I'm going to type the address in here for the help desk. It is helpdesk@clientservices.ee. My initials. There it is. Helpdesk@clientservices.ee. And you can get that happening. More questions here. Daniela, yes, it should work with International MasterCard. We have clients, no kidding, in 20 countries around the world. I don't think there should be an issue there at all. Daniela, how many people are in a group? In this group, I don't really know. We haven't limited this one. My guess is that it'll probably be, in around about 100 or 150 or so, something like that. With some of our groups, like I have a group that I'm coaching right now that has 1,100 people in it. And then we also have smaller classes where you can work with a dedicated coach where you can have like 8 or 10 people in a group. And then also for those of you who might want like a little bit of supplementation or personalized coaching, you can talk to our team about that. And even though you're in the class with me, you can still have a coach that privately supports you alongside the class as well. We will give you what you need to make it happen. So guys, that said, I now do actually have an appointment that I have to run to as well, or else I would just keep going. But thank you guys so very much. I'm amazed. I mean, the vast majority of you stayed way past time to stick and hang out. So that's really great. I'm really looking forward to beginning the challenge with you guys. I want to remind you of the dates. We begin on May 8th. So, you know, let's make some big change. Let's have the best possible, healthiest, most amazing summer possible, and set ourselves up for also the healthiest ever year ahead. So I look forward to joining you on May 8th. And I hope that I can see you guys in person one of these days real soon. Thank you so much for being here. I know you're gone, but thank you so much for introducing me to your tribe. And I hope to see you all again one of these days very soon.